what will be required in your district to implement P-cards. And then we'll take a short break around 10, maybe 15, 20 minutes, and come back and focus on audit issues and segregation and duties, which I think a lot of you are interested in the P-cards. This morning we have several people from the auditor's office, and I'd like to introduce them just so you know who is auditing in your area and who the managers and supervisors are. And of course, my boss, Mr. Jones, is here this morning. Duncan District Manager Ricky Branch, right there in the back. And we have Sherry Woodruff, which is with the Weatherford District. She's the Weatherford District Manager. And then we have several supervisors, and supervisors float. They have a lot of their responsibility that they go through, and sometimes we rearrange them. But we have Becky Swift, Matt Keith, two supervisors. Okay. And then we also have Cheryl Wilson. I know all of you know her, with Management Services. And then the two ladies out front are auditors, Rachel Ward and Christy G. And again, this morning we're here just to help you guys answer any questions you might have. So during the break or even afterwards, we'll be around. Anything you want to come and ask us, please feel free. We're here to help you this morning. Please don't have to leave anybody out. We also have some folks from Kelco here. I know you guys probably already saw them. Amanda and Melissa. Elizabeth, sorry. I haven't had the opportunity to meet Elizabeth, sorry. I'm sorry. So, okay, just out of curiosity, how many of you are interested in P-cards? In getting a P-card for your county? we have one. Okay, well, one thing that we probably should all keep an open mind about, one of these days we're probably going to have a P-card or something similar, just because that's the way the world's going. Currency is, there's less importance placed on currency. In fact, I find myself, digging around for a couple of quarters to get Cokes here and there in the courthouse just because I don't carry cash anymore. Everything's plastic. So even in county government, with payroll balance and the system we use, it's getting a little bit outdated. So as we go through this, keep an open mind. It may not be something that you want to do today. It may not be something you want to do next year. But one of these days you may want to, and you can probably still get some useful information from this. Well, it seems like every time we turn around, there's something changing. And who likes change? Not us. It seems like every time something changes, it slows us down for a little pothole in the road that we have to figure out how we're going to get through. But we are always here to help. And we really got involved with P-cards only because we found new legislation passed. We weren't part of getting that legislation passed. It just showed up, and once we realized it was there, we were like, okay, do we really want to be in the same situation we were a few years ago when all of these changes came about and no one was really there to help you walk through and get on the right track and make sure that it didn't cause a problem at the end of the road? So, we're not here to promote P-cards, and we're not here to discourage P-cards. We just want you to have the information that you need so that if you do decide to implement these, you can do it without any problems. This is the language in the new statute. Well, it's not a new statute, it's just additional language to Title 19, Section 1505, and it's been added in paragraph J. And it says the county purchasing agent may authorize county purchasing officers to make acquisitions through the state purchase card program. Well, county purchasing officers is not really a term that we use in county government. We're used to hearing the purchasing agent. We're used to hearing that, knowing the county clerk's going to certify these things. But county purchasing officers, we had to really stop and think, who is that going to be? And we determined that's going to be anybody that the Board of County Commissioners authorized to have a P-card. So there's a lot of room here. If the county chooses to implement the P-card program, it's really wide open for you to design how you want. You just need to keep in mind you still have to have some internal controls in place to make sure things are being done in an orderly manner. The internal controls are in place to safeguard any misuse or to prevent any misuse, and that you have procedures in place. So this legislation becomes effective November 1st of this year, which is just right around the corner. And one more thing that you should know about the P-card legislation that passed. Whenever it was passed, no one really understood, or let me see how to put this. No one looked ahead to see what kind of an impact this would have on counties. For instance, the bank requires a current financial statement audit. And as many of you in the Western District know, we have been performing operational audits. The difference between the two, an operational audit goes in, and we go in and we determine what kind of controls you have in place to safeguard the county's assets. And I know that some of those findings have been very critical, and that's what the second part of this class is today, is how to solve some of those problems. But the bank requires a current financial statement audit, and it requires it to be published within 270 days of the end of the fiscal year. What they did not take into account when they passed this legislation was that statutes only allow the auditor, or only require the auditor's office to be out here once every 2 years performing an annual audit. Nor are we staffed to perform an audit once every year. So there are a very limited number of counties that are ready to start this program according to the bank's requirements. Does that make sense? Well, I was very clear on that. But anybody that's interested, the auditor's office will work with you. We need to know. That's one of the reasons. Wasn't trying to speak to anybody out about P-cards. But if you are interested in this, then we need to try to do everything we can to help you get to where you can meet the bank's requirements. So, how many of you read the code presentation of P-cards? Anybody? So you're going to recognize this slide so that we're going to very quickly go through. We talked about how that Title 19 was enacted in 1982, and so much has changed since then. In 1982, everyone of us didn't have a personal computer, an iPod, an iPad, everything else. We weren't so hooked up. We didn't have a phone we could pull out of our pockets and stay connected to the entire world. But everything was still on paper. And Title 19, 1501 to 1505 has not been updated in a manner that is not up to date with the way things are done in the business world today. We do things a lot differently. So what is a P-card? It is a Visa purchasing card issued by the Bank of America. And the Bank of America they were the bank who obtained the state contract, the bid for the state contract to administer P-cards to the state government and now to local government. The P-card contract is administered by the Office of Management and Enterprise Services. Most of us know that as HOMES. And it's not to be confused with line of credit. It is just taking the place of a paper warrant. Instead of the vendor having to wait on a paper warrant to get their money, you can actually pay them immediately with your P-card, just like we would use our credit card to pay for something. And there are a lot of benefits of P-card of having one. An instant purchase, utilizing vendors who no longer accept POs. It's a little less paperwork. You still got to document the different duties that everyone performs, segregation of duties. You still got to be able to accurately track every expenditure and make sure that it is reported properly on your financial statement at the end of the year. You do get a rebate. It's 1.43% less the percentage that HOMES charges for administering the program. And it allows counties to use a P-card for purchase transactions rather than using a paper warrant. Whenever we're talking about this and how this is going to impact county government, how many times in a month do you need to use a P-card? Or would you need to use a credit card rather than a regular purchasing system? Sometimes there's a lot of things that would make your life more, or make it easier if you were able to pull this out rather than fight with a vendor on whether or not they're going to take a purchase order. Sometimes you can get a better deal if you have a way to pay for something other than a warrant. For instance, one county clerk told me that they needed to get parts for an old piece of equipment, and they could find these parts on eBay. Well, what they had to do was go to the district attorney, get permission for an individual to purchase that part, show them what it was, explained that there was nothing, funny going on. And the district attorney had to write a letter to say, yes, it's okay to authorize this individual to purchase this car for the county on eBay, because there's no other way to purchase this. eBay's not going to take PO. So there are instances that a P card can be very beneficial for you. As far as using it on a day-to-day basis, somebody still has to keep track of all these transactions. Has to go through the county clerk still. County clerk's office, it's all goes to the county clerk's office. You need to think about what your motivation is in wanting a P card. Do you want it for convenience, or do you want it for a rebate? And maybe you're thinking you want it for both. What is the biggest expenditure the county government has? Personal services. So that's not going to be something that you spend. Whenever you're thinking about your budget and how much expenditures you have, make sure you're taking out the personal services, because that's not going to be on P card. So it's basically going to be your M&O, capital outlay. There are payments we put on there. I put a little chart together of how much your rebate would be if you spent $100,000, $300,000, $500,000, or even $1 million in 1 year. What your rebate would be. It's 1.43%. You can see where it's calculated, less the 5% fee that ONS is going to charge you for administrative program. So if you're thinking you can put $1 million of expenditures on a P card to get a rebate, it's pretty nice to think about getting $13,000 back. But in smaller counties, who has that kind of money to spend through a P card? Again, some of your biggest expenditure is your personal services. One more thing that you need to know about is that if you're late, and Tammy Howard is the state P card administrator, and she is quick to emphasize that we have 25 days to pay this bill. But that is also getting everybody's documentation in, making sure you have it, getting it before the board to approve the claim, and getting the payments in. But if you miss a payment, it's $250 late fee that month. So you can easily see how that your rebate, well, you won't get a rebate that month if you pay a late fee. In fact, you'll regret it because it's going to cost you $250. So it takes all offices working together to make sure all the paperwork's in, everybody's done their part in order to pay this on time for it to be a real benefit of the county. The other thing that we talked about in code meeting was if the rebate is your motivation, and say a commissioner saves up for a $500,000 road project because he's going to get $6,700 in the rebate for that. If another officer doesn't encumber something, and there's a bill out there, and then they don't have the money to pay for it, because we do have sometimes where officers don't encumber properly, then there's not funds available. Is that late fee going to take away all the good that you did in trying to get your project charged to get a rebate? Because it's not per office. County government is one entity, and if you sign up for the P card program, you're signing up as one entity. So it's going to require everyone working together in order to make this work. Now we're going to get into what is the procedure now versus what the procedure would be if you did implement the P card program. Right now, you have a requisitioning officer that calls in against PO. The purchasing agent determines if a bid is required, and it goes ahead and encumbers the funds. Once it comes in, the receiving officer is going to complete the documentation. Purchasing agent is going to process the PO and receiving report. The county clerk is going to compare documents and authorize issuance of warrants. It's going to go before the majority of board county commissioners to be included in an open meeting, and then warrants are signed and delivered. That's what we do right now. The P card is not intended to avoid or bypass appropriate purchasing or payment procedures. If you don't have the money now, you won't have it later. You can't spend something now that you don't have later. And it's not on credit, where you can just go out and say, well, I don't really have that appropriated in my account, I'm going to go put it on a P card. Because the P card is going to come due, and not only are you going to pay a $250 late fee if you can't pay it, you're also going to pay interest. I'll put that in there too. It's probably minimal interest, but, you still have to encumber. There's nothing about a P card that's going to allow you to go out and use funds without making sure you have it first. Receiving officers still have to complete their receiving documentation. You still have to have segregation of duties and internal controls that all purchases for the county did in fact occur on behalf of the county and the items, goods, or services were received by the county. Then all the documentation is going to have to be forwarded to the purchasing agent. Now, I am hesitant to say purchasing agent right here because each county, each board of county commissioners is going to have to designate a P card administrator. It makes sense to make that be within the purchasing department, but a county has the ability to appoint anyone they choose to administer the P card program. But again, who is in charge of purchasing the county? So even if you have someone outside of the county clerk's office in charge of purchasing, ultimately it's going to get back to the county clerk's office to pay that bill. Along with these cards, and this is where it gets tricky, and I don't think that they really thought about this whenever they implemented the P cards for counties. You have several restricted cash lines. So if you're a county officer, you may have appropriations in the general fund. You have appropriations in your restricted cash fund. So county clerk is going to have general fund money. You're going to have your lien fee account. You're going to have the records maintenance and preservation fund. A commissioner is going to have money in general fund, limited money in general fund. The general government account, the general fund, that's a pretty big pot of money sometimes. You're going to have your highway funds. But underneath each one of those funds, you have personal services, you have travel, you have maintenance and operation, you have capital outlay. Whenever you use that P card, in one way or another, you've got to tie that expenditure to the line item budget. You've got to make sure that your expenditure is charged to not just to the proper fund, but also to the proper account. So, if each office went out and gave 3 people P cards, what if one person made a purchase for general fund, or county clerk lien fee, or RMP, all these different funds? It's going to come in on one bank statement, and you're going to have to figure out how to reconcile that back to your accounts. Now, it can be done, but don't think that it's just a simple process. Somebody is going to have to be in charge of reconciling this and making sure that all of these get charged to the proper fund account. So, one thing that we suggested, and again, this was my question earlier, how many times in a month do you think you would use a P card? Is it going to be something every day where you have all these transactions that you have to worry about getting to the proper fund account? Or is it something that you could have a P card for the county where a purchasing agent or someone designated by the board of county commissioner could be in charge of it and make purchases? One card, make sure it was charged to the proper fund account. So maybe at first, if you're interested in this program, maybe the right thing to do would be to weigh in slowly, get one card, maybe 2, and make sure you get the process down so that your financial records aren't way out of line in the month whenever everyone's charged for the card transaction. So saying that, with each one of those statements are going to have to be printed off for each P card. Someone's going to have to authorize that as being correct, and it's going to have to be approved in a majority, in a board of county commissioners meeting by a majority of the board. That's going to take the place of the purchase order. So what have we cut down here? Maybe one P card takes the place of 30 POs and 30 warrants. That's less signatures on that. But someone still has to sign off on that final statement and approve it. One more thing to note, the top authority in the county or in any entity is not allowed to have a P card. For instance, in our office, auditors have P cards for travel purposes. Mr. Jones is not allowed to have a P card because he's the final level of approval. So in the county, who's your final level of approval? Board of County Commissioners. And Commissioners Foreman or anybody they choose to have one can have one. But since the county commissioners are the final approving authority in the county, they are not required to carry one themselves. And that is the rule of homes. They want the final approval, and that's basically segregation of duties. The person that has final approval, approving authority, does not also have the capability to make purchases. And signature stamps are not allowed for approving P-card statements. That is an owner's rule. And again, if you're signing up for the P-card program, you're signing up through who? OWMS. You're signing up with Tammy Howard, the P-card administrator, who is in a division of OWMS. If you choose to implement the P-card program, you are going to have policies and procedures in place. And one of your handouts, this handout right here, is a draft copy of policies and procedures. There are things that can be modified in here. You'll find some items highlighted in yellow. You're going to have to fill in those blanks as to what you want. You'll have to make it personal to your county. You'll have to decide how many people you're going to have to decide who the P-card administrator is. Board of County Commissioners will have to decide that in another meeting. You'll have to designate that person. You'll have to, based on what kind of credit limit the bank gives the county as a whole, Board of County Commissioners will determine how to split that up between offices. And if you only have one P-card, you would have all that credit limit on one P-card. But if you have multiple P-cards, you have to split that credit limit up. And that would be something that would be a part of your policy and procedures manual. Also, you would determine how the credit limit for each office, how that is going to flow through. You would want the officer, those offices to sign off as the first level of review that everything was correct for their office, and then before it could be paid, it would have to be approved in the Board of County Commissioners. And again, this is what policy and procedures manual should include, and those items are included in this. A requirement to use the P-card for government purposes only. This other handout which you have, this is an example of what we use at the state level. It's been changed, it's been modified to fit for a county. And each person, the P-card administrator, and any person who has a P-card will be required to complete this form. It's their understanding that they are not allowed to use it for anything other than a government purpose. You can read through there about what the requirements are, what they can and can't do. But this is to communicate in writing and for them to sign that they understand the responsibility of carrying a credit card linked to the county's bank account. Because it's serious. You're going to have one that's government money. They need to take it seriously. Again, your policy and procedures manual would identify levels of authorization, a requirement to comply with training, a requirement to sign a user agreement form. That's what this is right here, user agreement form. Consequences of not following the P-card policies and procedures. And in this policy and procedures manual, there is not an all-inclusive list, but a list of items that would not be appropriate for using the P-card. And again, this was taken from an example at the state level. Another thing it would be to include is how your rebates going to be split. If each office is really trying to utilize a P-card, if the motivation is to get the rebate, then you need some kind of policy passed by the Board of County Commissioners of how you would split that rebate. And any other item that you would feel necessary. A policy and procedures manual, just like the one we have right now, is the county's policy and procedures manual. It's for you to take and adapt to what your needs are. This is just a starting point of minimum requirements, so you can add to it as much as you want. Okay, what are the documentation requirements for P-card transactions? And this is copied straight from OWMS requirements. You're still going to have invoices, original invoices, not a statement. And we still see that today, even attached to some purchase orders. We see that we have a statement where things have been charged, and the statement at the end of the month is attached to the purchase order. The correct documentation is the original invoice, where it clearly shows unit, quantity, exactly what purchase, how many, so forth. It should have the vendor's name, date of purchase, description, unit price and quantity, and transactions total. Homes takes record retention very seriously. So, if you did not have this, you could have your P cards taken away from you. The odds of that happening would have to be a severe case. It's nothing more than what you're already doing. Attach invoices, make sure your documentation is there. The statute allows the use of the P card, but the statute still designates the duties for requisitioning officer, receiving officer, purchasing agent, county clerk, and board of county commissioners. Good internal controls still require proper segregation of duties. So, a P card is not going to get you out of everything where you can just go in first. There are still strings attached to it. The P card can only be used by the person whose name is on the card. One of the questions that came up in a training was, can the card just be issued in the county's name? The bank nor homes does not allow it. It has to be to that individual so that if any inappropriate expenditures are made, there is recourse on that individual. That's the whole purpose of signing the user agreement form. If I take my P card out and buy something I'm not supposed to, it's in my name, it was my responsibility, and I'm losing my trouble for it. You can't loan your card to someone else. You can't use another's P card, and you need to keep your P card in a secure location. Again, these restrictions are straight from homes. Now, one thing to keep in mind too, what's one of the most convenient things a P card can be used for? Travel. You know, so you have to call a hotel, see if they'll take a purchase order. Sometimes they do. But one thing you can do, everyone who travels does not have to have a P card. One person can make travel plans on behalf of the county, use the P card, reserve the hotel and pay for it without a county employee having to be out the expense on their own or have to do it themselves. So the person whose name is on the card can use that card for those purposes on behalf of somebody else. What does it mean when you're signing off a P card for approval? And again, this is from homes. This is what their requirements are. When you sign off on approval for a P card transaction, you're saying it's accurate, complete, it's an appropriate expenditure for the county, and that you verify transactions were conducted according to statutes, rules, and procedures. So when you're signing off as that first level of review, you are approving all those expenditures and saying they are legal and appropriate. The consequences for misuse of the P card, letting someone else use the card, not signing authorizing statements, not retaining documentation. Owens has said they will freeze your account until they can retrain you, or you would then close your account altogether. It still goes to the state because this is part of the state's P card program. Okay, any questions on P cards? I'm not going to go through frequently asked questions unless you guys have something. Any questions? This is the first time I've not had questions. Either I did an amazing job or you're just not interested. Okay, well, again, you know, we do need to keep an open mind that sooner or later, we're probably all going to be utilizing the cards in counties. How you choose to do it in your county is obviously your choice. I do recommend wading in slowly, not just jumping in and giving everyone the card unless you're prepared to track the expenditures and make sure your financial reports are correct. Because at the end of the year, we are going to show up with a financial statement audit, and we need your financial statement to be correct, and we don't want to have to write fines. So if you choose to get one and just implement this, any questions that we can help you with, we have to. Okay, we're going to get out of that. And I want to go briefly over this policy and procedures manual. This handout. I try to make this simple, and again, I'm patterned this off of a state agency example that seems appropriate for county use. You only have to enter the name of your county transaction flow, what you're required to do to make a P-card transaction. As the requisition officer still has the requisition. You still have to make sure your funds are encumbered. On page 2, it starts with definitions. These definitions are definitions from homes and from the bank. So anytime you are confused about who they're calling, or who they're referring to, or what they're referring to, you can look back to these definitions. One thing that I would like to say, again, we're not for or against it. There are good controls in place. You just need to make sure you're following. One thing a bank can do, a bank can cut a card down where you can only use it for certain purposes. I have a hotel card that's a P card issued from the state, and I call it a hotel card. It's no different. It looks no different than somebody else's P card that can be used for anything. But my P card issued in City Perry can only be used at hotels. Period. I could not take it to Walmart and use it for anything, because every merchant that has a credit card machine has a merchant code, and the Bank of America can lock the card down to only one merchant code. So my card has been locked down to only the hotel merchant code. So banks can do amazing things. So if you wanted controls in place over your cards, or if you wanted to restrict it to certain things, there's a long list of merchant codes that you could use to approve for each credit card. And again, that's on page 3. It explains that. On page 4, it talks about the organization and training and what is required. At the bottom of page 4, it talks about the financial operations and how you go about getting these, taking the final payment for the P card. Record retention on the next page. And it basically just goes through, the different things that pretty much we all know, but that you need to put in writing so that all employees who would be using the P card would have a policy and procedures manual and know what rules to follow. So, back on, it gives you some different information, county official approval responsibilities, replacement cards, items received when you can't get one, misuse of the P card. There's all kinds of good information. So again, this is a minimum that you can add to it as much as you want. So at this point, do we have any questions on the cards? No? Okay, we'll finish much more quickly than we did in our last time. Is anybody ready for a break, or do we want to just keep going? Break, raise your hand. No break, keep going. Okay. What do you need to have on the next handout? While I'm passing out the handout, I'm just going to go ahead and go over some of these frequently asked questions. There may not be anything that you want to know about. What is the credit limit for each card? Again, the county as a whole is going to have one credit limit. And how the Board of County Commissioners approved an open meeting to split that credit up. It's your county. You can do it however you like. May officers have a P card? All officers except the Board of County Commissioners can have a P card, and that's just an eligible. You can't, they want one final level of approval who does not utilize a P card. It's just their way of saying you've got to have segregation of duties in place. But underneath the commissioner, any of the commissioner's employees in his district could have one to use for that district. What purchases may the P cards be used for? Any governmental purchase allowed by statute. But remember, you must encumber the funds. You still have to have money before you can spend it. The expenditure should be a legal expenditure for the restricted fund. So if you have someone going out to make an expenditure for highway, make sure it's an appropriate expenditure for that fund. Make sure you use those funds for what that expenditure is for. Why do you still have to utilize purchase orders? Purchase order is the only way that you can charge the expenditure to the proper fund and account. For instance, if the commissioner needs to go buy a load rock, how are you going to get that charge to highway M&O? Only a purchase order can do that. So whether you actually print the purchase order out or just assign a PO number, the PO number is what is going pay bill in a timely manner. There's a $250 late fee plus interest, and you're not going to get your rebate calculated for that month. So if 7 officials do everything right, and you have one official that ran out of money that month and doesn't have money to pay their bill, I know you can do interfund transfers to loan money, but that's almost what it would take. You've got 25 days to pull all that off and get your bill paid so that there's no late fee to the county. What kind of restrictions can a county place on a P card? A dollar limit? I think it's restricted to where I think my P card is limited to $2,000. It's high enough that if I needed to travel out of state or travel, here, actually I think I can use out of state. Never tried that. Probably won't try that. But in-state travel, I can use it every night at a hotel, and to have enough limit there to do what I need to do, but there is a limit because it has to be paid every month. And you might also question, what happens if you don't pay that bill? So for instance, if I have $3,000 on my bill, and something happens and they don't pay the P card for this month, if I had $2,000 charged for this month, next month I can still charge up to $1,000, but it's going to be cut off to $3,000. A credit limit is a credit limit. So, does each county employee who travels need a P card? No. Each county or one P card can purchase anything on behalf of the county, but only the person whose name is on that P card can actually do purchasing. Who is the P card administrator for the county? It depends on how your county wants to set it up. It could be anybody that Board of County Commissioners designates. It just needs to be documented in your policy and procedures manual. What is the P card administrator responsible for? Retaining all documentation, ensuring compliance with program requirements, and ensuring monthly bills are timely paid. Here's something else you should know. Whenever you think that it might, some of this, it seems like you're going to turn into people losing cars, that it might be hard to track. A P card administrator has the rights to go into the bank system where you can monitor everything that's going on in the county. Who really has time to babysit all day long and watch every P card transaction? But if you felt like something was going on, you can immediately go in and look at any transaction that's been charged with that card at any time. So there are monitoring procedures in place so you can take care of that. Okay, that is everything I have. So if you still don't have any questions, yes.
I have one question. Would the P card administrator also be the individual for the dimensions that they shall populate the note field on the bank's transaction system with the description of goods and services purchased?
Okay, that's a very good question. The question is the P card administrator the one who populates the notes on the bank system as to what the transaction is for? That may sound confusing. What the process is in our office, we have a CFO who has a couple workers with her, and we send them an email every time we use our P card. And we say, for instance, we don't have P cards for hotels. So anytime we use my hotel card, I send them an email and say, on this day, I'm going to be spending one night at this hotel, and this is the purpose. It's for county training, or it's for on-site review of audits, or whatever the purpose is. Somebody has to log into that bank system in the notes column for that transaction and type all of that information in there. It can be done one of two ways. Some state agencies, if you have a P card, you're responsible for going in there and taking care of yourself. In our office, just because we only use ours for hotels, our accounting department takes care of that for us as long as we give them the information. So it's a very good question. You have to, there's some record keeping involved in using P cards. And again, those rules are not the state auditor's office's rules. Those are the rules from Owens and from Bank of America, so that they know each transaction has the proper documentation.
I guess my question is access available to be given to
Is access given to everyone? Yes. I have a login name and a password to go in to edit my P card. I just don't do it because our office has chosen to have somebody else do that. But it can be set up either way. You can make people that have the cards, that are given the cards, you can make them responsible for doing that. Because no matter what, they are going to have a login ID and password. Or you can have the accounting person do it. Any other questions? Yes. No, it does not. At the state level, it's only for the hotel expense. Now, I do know that they're trying to work to do something like that and make a state policy where we can do that. They haven't yet. It just, pretty much what it does is it takes the burden off of the auditors travel where they don't have to put a hotel charge on their personal credit card. Because we're all going to eat no matter what, no matter where we are. So that's not such a burden as the hotel expenses. But now accounting could do that. If you chose to have a hotel or if you chose on your P card and you had a travel policy in place, this is how you were going to, what you were going to allow them to do, it could be. I think the question is, if you were going to send, correct me, if you were going to send an employee from your county to try to run the whole city, and you knew they were going to be out, hotel expense, meals, or whatever, that employee, if they're going to charge meals, would have to have their own P card. If you're only putting the hotel expense on it, you can do that. One card can do that for anybody in the county. But like, for instance, if the state passed a rule that said we could do that, we could just charge our meals on it. The state has a policy that we're going to follow GSA rates, and they're going to pay per diem. We don't get actual reimbursed expenses. We just get to set it out. If we choose to go over, it's on our own. So that would, if you wanted to have that kind of, what they can do though, as an alternative, you can pay for the hotel expense, and they can fill out a travel claim and be reimbursed for their meals once they got back. So it depends on what the county's travel policy is and how you want to set your cards up. If you allow them to charge their meals to their room, and that P card transaction was handled by you, if you were the one in the county that's going to have a P card, and you called and reserved that hotel room and authorized the meals to be gone out, and how you have to authorize that with the hotel, then yes, you could do that. You'd probably need another policy and procedures manual, because you wouldn't want them to be able to charge alcohol beverages or movies and things like that. So you have to have some kind of, I mean, you want that written into your policy and procedures, or else somebody can go, what are you talking about? Okay, any other questions? And again, we're against it. I mean, realistically, it's probably going to happen soon. You know, so if you choose to do it, we're more than happy to help you, and help you get set up. Again, I would encourage you to weigh in, don't jump in. Weigh in and see how it's going to affect your financial reporting before you pass these out to everyone. Yes. it can be done, but you've got to make sure you do it correctly. And I would encourage you at that point to get in touch with Amanda at Kelpro, who's very familiar with this, because you're going to want to be walked through it step by step. It can be done, but it's going to be, you don't want a warrant for each P-card transaction. That would completely, miss the point of being able to use a P-card and cut down on paperwork. So, I know that they discussed it at their user group, and it's kind of on hold temporarily until they figure out what the best course of action is. And how many people are interested? Yes.
Well, I'm not interested, but that point has been brought up. We're not with Kelpro. So, to clarify, the PO is made payable to each individual vendor.
Whenever you encumber funds, you would have to encumber it for the vendor that you're using. At the end of the month, Kelpro has a setup to where you can encumber the funds to the vendor and it's billed to someone else. So one of the options was to put the bill to information to Bank of America. So what system do you use?
Well, we're with Dimensional Concepts.
Dimensional Concepts. Okay, and I'm not as familiar with that, but I'm sure that your vendor would have it, or your software company would have something similar to do.
Well, we would have to ask them to do that for us, so that it seems that we're going to have to ask our software to make changes to comply with the statutes if we want to implement this.
Well, it's not about changing your software to comply with statutes. You've got to figure out how to get your system to properly record your expenditures to the restricted fund and account for that expenditure, which you're already having to do no matter what. I mean, this new statute's not really changing that, but your software's going to have to work with the way county government makes expenditures by fund and account. And again, determine what your motivation is here for wanting P-card. Do you want it for the rebate, or do you want it for those transactions that it's just a real pain to use purchase order for? And if you're just using it for those rare transactions, you're not going to have a whole lot to worry with, and it would be good. If you decide to go all in and have everyone have a P-card, I really recommend that you get with your